Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Home and Away, a podcast devoted to all things in and around the world of sporting Kansas City soccer. I am Drew Vanderplug, joined once again, as always, by my good friend Cody Welton. This week on the podcast, well, thank goodness we waited until after the midweek game to come together and record this week. Had we done this on Tuesday night, things would be quite a bit different, I think, as far as the tenor of this podcast. And, things were not good. Prior to Wednesday night, Sporting Kansas City got absolutely shellacked in Portland, 6-0, in another capitulation that just really made the fan base feel great. And then a couple days later, MLSPA decides to make their salary drop, and we get a really clear understanding of just how shit this roster is from a compensation perspective, and how little our new CSO did to solidify it prior to the end of the transfer window. I mean, I think we all knew that there were that some of this was possible, but it put a really fine point on a lot of those details. Thankfully, the Los Angeles Galaxy came to town to help us just wash all that dirty taste out of our mouth, as Sporting Kansas City had what is by far their best performance of the year, probably one of their best performances in the last 12 months. On the field against the Galaxy in a game that had a lot of us thinking, wait, who is this team, actually? I think, there are reasons why some of these things went as well as they did, and they aren't all related to Sporting Kansas City playing well, but I think we will take the result, and we will take some positive energy this week on the podcast, and I'm looking forward to digging into that. We will also dig into what we saw in MLS over the last couple match days that we liked. Temwa coming back and doing something even she had never done before for the Kansas City Current, as well as some other news in and around the MLS soccer sphere, before previewing an upcoming trip to Austin, where hopefully some level of good follows this team as they have their last couple matches going into the World Cup break. So, Cody, what I found fascinating over these last two games is so much of what we discussed last week on the podcast sort of bore itself out. There were a number of circumstances when we were discussing how the performance against Seattle, would it be replicable? And, hey, should we stick with the same back line or not? I think you even said at one point, it's like, yeah, of course you stick with the same back line, unless they get beat 5-0, at which point you need to start making changes. You were off by one goal, sir. One goal. And I guess they only Portland only scored 5 in the game. So you were pretty close to accurate in that. But also there was a conversation about, you mentioned seeing Zorhan Bassong on the sideline against Seattle, and how big of a component he was for the team. And I don't mean to go back to pat ourselves on the back every week, but I do think it's important. A lot of the things that we discussed did seem to bear out. We expected that there would be, ups and downs in this team's performance. They don't have the players that are consistent enough and have high enough quality to continue to play at a high level all the time. We would see ups and downs. I don't think the Portland game was near as bad as the scoreline, if I'm being completely honest, but there was a lot of bad in it for sure.
Yeah.
That said, we get the LA Galaxy game, and you see a response. And some of that is related to the inclusion of Zorhan Bassong and the amount of time that he spent on the field and how he sort of changed things. And I thought it was sort of clairvoyant almost by you last week saying, hey, look, this guy, we need this guy. And I think you even said this thing. It's kind of weird to be sitting here saying, man, we really need Zorhan Bassong. But, man, we really needed Zorhan Bassong.
Even I was surprised by how much of a difference his inclusion last night really made. I was impressed by how well the team played around him for sure, but just I was just really impressed by his demeanor, his swagger on the field. He looked like the second coming of Roger Espinosa out there. The way he carried himself was the way that a leader carries themselves. And I honestly, I kind of wasn't I was a little bit maybe tongue in cheek about the him on the sidelines rah-rahing because he's still a Zorhan Bassong after all. But dude, he was the real deal last night, and I think that. I think that the team's performance bears that out, and his numbers bear that out too. I mean, he didn't play the full game, but he led the team in passes into the final third by a substantial margin, and that's not something necessarily we associated with that player last year. And so if he's going to be that sort of like defensively solid, leadership piece, but can also add that progressive passing piece from the midfield, man, that is huge. And it's one game, so I'm not going to get too far out over my skis, but it was really, really nice to see.
Right. I think that there are some, extenuating factors as to why he was able to be as effective as he was. I don't think Galaxy's midfield was very good in this game at all.
Oh no, they were shit.
there were reasons.
They were bad.
There were reasons, but I think that that it's interesting you bring up Roger Espinoza, because the reporting after the game from Daniel Sperry was that Roger gave him a little pep talk, and specifically to Zoe, it sounds like said, hey, and went back to like the 2011 season when they really struggled early and were really, really bad. And then, sort of built themselves into the season as the year went on. And I mean, there's a little bit of a nobody believed in us kind of shit going on there, which, okay, fine. I mean, if it works, it works. But also,
at this point, whatever it takes, man.
Whatever it takes. But I also think that, the part of the quote that really rang home that I think is important is only we can dig ourselves out of this. No one else can do this, right?
Yep.
And if we dedicate ourselves to it, that we can help build positive results from this. And don't get me wrong, I think that there's a limit to how much this is going to happen with this group of players, for sure. But it doesn't need to look as bad as it has, right?
Yep.
And I think that is the big thing that we came away from this game looking at, is like, okay, when this team has its full complement of the players on this roster, they don't need to look like the fucking Washington Generals out there every night, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like they could look like an actually competitive soccer team from time to time, or even in this game, the dominant soccer team. Mm-hmm. And we certainly haven't seen dominant soccer team at all this year, much less as competitive as this. So I think that it shows that with the right mindset, and I think it's also interesting that you highlighted Bassong having the most passes into the final third. We're going to spend more time talking about his game in this one, but one of the things that was just so readily apparent immediately is that not only was he doing the Roger Espinoza things about covering ground and getting to places and getting turnovers and jumping into passing lanes and intercepting and winning tackles and doing all the things that we really loved Roger doing, he was doing the stuff that came a little later in Roger's career, which is immediately going forward with the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that was hugely impactful.
Yeah.
To the success of the team.
A lot of 1- and 2-touch passing from him, but that's 1- and 2-touch progressive passing, which is, requiring that he, receive on the half turn and be paying attention around him. And he did cover a lot of ground, but it wasn't a Jacob Bartlett, performance where he's just running, kind of like a chicken with his head cut off. It was more of a Roger type performance where he's like stalking the midfield and then bursting to where he needs to be to put out fires, and I can tell you which one of those two I prefer.
I think all of us prefer, for sure. So we're going to get in a little bit later about kind of the impact that this had around the rest of the players, but I think we also need to discuss what happened on Saturday.
Yeah.
It was extremely frustrating, especially given the scoreline, right? And they're down 4-0 inside of 26 minutes. The own goal was around 26. I understand why everyone was upset as they were. You see a reasonable performance of, sort of organization against Seattle, and then it all seems to fall apart on the field in Portland. by all the statistical numbers, it wasn't really that bad. It was just a scenario where they did get disorganized. Stephen Cleveland had a back-to-earth game, and so did Ethan Bartlow, right? Like, a few guys were just not there. And then once they were down 4-0, it was kind of like sleepwalking through the game after that, right? And you don't... I think Wiki said something in the post-game press conference after the Wednesday night game. He was like, I think Sperry asked him, did you expect this type of response? He's like, if I'm being completely honest, no, I didn't. And I think he understood mentally where these guys were. Like, there's a reality to the psychology of getting ripped up over and over like this, and we've talked about it before. It's really hard to stay engaged, and I think you saw that in that game. I mean, there's some stuff where, reasonably so, fans were pretty upset with Jayden Reed's just sort of lack of intention to do much of anything. On, I think it was the 5th goal or the 6th goal. I forget which one it was. It doesn't really matter. He's just completely just standing around watching.
Yep.
And I think, when you're down 4-0, 26 minutes into a game, and you've been beat over and over and over and over again like this, it just, there's not much that can be, like, you can really do. I don't know what you do.
Well, I think even just going down more than one goal, right? Going down 2 goals like that in and of itself is a stake in the heart of a team like this, because they are not a team that scores multiple goals in a game. They are lucky to get a goal in most circumstances. And so when you
when they play the Galaxy,
right, when they're faced with the task of coming up with multiple goals, it's like they're defeated before they even start, because it's literally not something that they've shown that they were capable of doing as of the Portland game. And the worst thing about that game is it's not like they're playing Inter Miami. Like, they're playing Portland, who are terrible, and who are terrible also, like, they're defensively terrible, and Sporting was really not able to generate anything in that game, and that, like, down for the entire game as much as they were, like, for them to be like completely out of it, not even break 0.5 expected goals, it was disappointing. Like it was a really, really poor performance, and I think a poor coaching performance as well, because they did not look up to it. So nobody on the team, I think, had any glory that night.
And I think the last point that you're making there about the coaching really started to, gain momentum about, has Wiki basically lost this locker room at this point?
Yeah.
Is it time to consider someone else? And I think, look, I'm not near as far on the John Mueller spectrum of managers don't matter, but I also think that they matter less than we often ascribe them credit for in a lot of circumstances. And I also think in MLS, they matter more than they do in, say, the Premier League or other places where it is much more about how much money and what your roster is than it is about the coach. And in MLS, generally the spending is a lot more condensed. There's a lot more opportunity for good coaches to make an impact. And so there's also opportunity for coaches to make an impact in a negative way. And I think that that's what we were sort of hoping and expecting in Portland. Phil Neville had been doing Phil Neville-jit things in Portland ever since he's been there. He's not a good coach. No. And as a result, these Portland teams Portland is significantly more talented, has a much better roster than Sporting Kansas City does, but they've been playing like shit because their coach sucks. And so there was expectation or potential, you would hope, for that. Unfortunately, what happened was better talent shone out. They scored a lot of goals from, they were decent chances with decent, with enough of a goal mouth opening that they could score, but also really clean finishing by the Portland Timbers in this one that allowed them to score as many. And then obviously Jake Davis's chest as well.
It basically took like a terrible game from all 5 of Sporting Kansas City's back 5 players, right? All 4 defenders were terrible. Cleveland was terrible,
was bad. Yeah.
And so like that, you can't I mean, in a parity-driven league like MLS, like you can't survive that kind of mortal wound, right? If all of your defensive players are terrible, like you're going to give up goals. That's why I didn't even complain about the goals. I complained about them not getting any shots of their own on goal,
Right.
because it was obvious that like it was they were going to have to score and they weren't able to generate squat. But I think that match really left me wanting to see Capita and Harris on the field at the same time, and we were finally able to see that last night.
Got that.
And so, there are, even in the midst of that terrible loss, like there were still things that point towards like the way out, right? And there's still a long ways from that, but I think we were able to. It's just it's so interesting to juxtapose these two performances beside one another, because they are, I think, microcosms of everything that can be wrong about this team right now, and a microcosm also of everything that could possibly be right. And there are probably two extremes, and most of the matches that we're going to watch this season are probably going to find. Hopefully, they're going to fall in between these. I can't, like, if they lose worse than they did to Portland, like there's going to be some questions. But I really do think that those two matches represent like the extremes that are possible with this team.
I think that I would agree with you. I think that that's a fair assessment, and I also think that there was sometimes ball go in as well that made it look a lot worse than it was.
Yeah.
And so I think if you look over the last 4 games, their XGD is not that bad, really. I mean, it's not great. It's still negative, but I think it's only like negative 0.2 per game or something. It
is improving. The trend line has been better until that Portland game, and you can't discount that entirely, but you have to. You have to consider context also.
Right, exactly. So I think that there's potential, like, this is me trying really hard to see some positives here, but I think that there is some potential that this is getting a better than worst team in the history of the league by a factor of 2. Right.
Well, when you were talking about the roster, I mean, there are still 2 teams in the league that have rosters that are at least almost as bad as this, and those 2 teams are Montreal and Philadelphia, and all they got to be is better than those 2 teams, right?
Well, they're struggling to beat Montreal right now. Montreal is on a decent run since they fired their coach. Actually,
Well, they're in a terrible conference too. I mean,
they're finally playing at home again too.
Right.
So I think it's similar situation to what Toronto had, because of the way the schedule works, and Montreal's a whole different thing because of their shitty owner. They can't even play at home until like late March.
Yeah.
So they're on a stretch of home games, and they moved on from their coach, and so there has been some adjustment there. But Philly's in year 2 of Bradley Carnell. We know how that goes. And they sold all of their good players.
Yep.
And didn't replace them. So, I somehow Sporting is not in last place right now in the Supporters Shield, which is wild to me. But I do think that you're right. Like, as far as that race is concerned, there are other really bad teams around you. Not maybe statistically as bad as Sporting has been so far this year, or even up, especially before the last couple games, but certainly they're pretty poor.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, again, I think it's important that we at least touch on the subject about Rafa Vicky and whether, regardless of what happened on Wednesday night, which is a positive, and I promise we will get to the positive stuff soon. There was a legitimate conversation about whether replacing him would be effective. Like I said, when it comes to MLS, I do think coaches mean more than they do in other leagues, and I do think that, as we saw on Wednesday night, this team is not near as bad as they had been playing. And so there is some question about, hey, is this guy equipped to continue to get them to play at least at their level or slightly above it? You know what I mean? And I think that there were legitimate concerns that you and I had, kind of how the instructions were being laid as to whether that they were achievable or not. I'll be interested when we get to the LA game here in a second to see if simply just a slight change in personnel made it achievable or not, or did he make some adjustments? I don't know that the adjustment, I mean, I don't think I saw that much different in kind of what he wanted them to do. I just saw better execution. So the question is he okay as long as he has the absolute like choice 11 that he wants, or is this a coach that still is a problem if more injuries come around?
I mean, I think the question we're kind of getting at is he better, or is the team better off with him than it was with Zvagnin, right? Because we saw similar issues with Zvagnin when he had all of his first choice players. He was fine. Now I do think that Zvagnin had higher quality players just overall on the team. Like the roster was better last year than it is this year, and
which is a wild statement.
It is. It is so wild. It is so wild.
We'll get to that conversation in a moment. But yeah, it's a wild situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the bill of goods that we were sold when it came to Wiki by both the club and by national pundits was that he was he's had experience at the youth level. He's a youth development focused coach, and that is frankly that's not what we've seen in these first handful of games. The young player who who had shown some marked improvement was Jacob Bartlett. Everybody else, I think, previous to last night, had been probably playing below what I would consider to be their level. And when I think about a coach who is focused on youth development, and the easy thought right off the head right now is Michael Bradley. Those players are playing. They are not always playing well, and their development's not linear, but they don't have these massive swings, right? They'll have like a good game and a not so good game, but they don't have one good game and then two dog shit games where they barely even show up. And so that has been a concern for me. And frankly, the amount of focus, organization, and effort I have found to be severely lacking, and I put that almost entirely on coaching. And so that's why I have been very skeptical that he is a long-term option. I haven't made a stink about it because there's just no point, right? Like changing a coach out at this point, you're not going to see results improve measurably. I just think before last night, my thought process was for the long-term development and the emotional stability of the team, it might be best to move on. Let Dom Kinnear coach until at least until the World Cup break, if that's what it took. I'm going to take a little step back away from that, to see, maybe if we can get some another game or two and see what's going on. But I'm still not sold on Wiki, and I don't think anybody should be at this point.
That was the question I was going to ask you. It's if you move on, who do you put in his place, and is that an upgrade in any way? And I think maybe more, not even an upgrade in structure or any of those things, but does it make this team gel better together? Do they get better, and do the youth players start to improve? Because I do think that there is some value to the perspective that we do have a number of U21 players on this roster, and a lot of them are playing minutes right now. Yep. And I don't want their development to be stunted because they're playing in a disorganized mess.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the Michael Bradley conversation is interesting. I think Bradley benefits from the fact that some of these guys played for him on Red Bull 2 last year.
Absolutely.
So he has relationships with them. He understands what they're capable of. He also understands how to communicate with them effectively and how to give them and put them in a place to be successful. So I think that he is certainly, in a more advantageous position than Wiki is when it comes to working this out. But
He
that said,
also has good players.
yeah, his
Like,
play,
that
that's
makes a difference too.
Again, we'll talk about Adri Mehmeti a little bit later too, but this is a player who is just the difference between him and Jacob Bartlett is like the difference between me and Giorgio Chiellini. Like there's we're talking about very different levels of player.
Yeah.
But I think that that is my concern more than anything, is like the more this becomes a negative psychological mess that is disorganized and unstructured, the more that it actually actively hurts the development of some of these players that we expect to play key, roles for this team in the future. Like that is what we're building towards. There's so many young players, and this youth development thing is something that Lee appears to be wanting to sort of change and like be a part of the philosophy of this club. You can't do that if the young players are constantly getting kicked in the teeth over and over again.
Right. I mean, the young players don't develop unless they're put in positive positions, advantageous positions that, or situations, maybe is better word than positions, situations where they can, they can maximize their positive attributes and not be penalized heavily for the negative components of their game. And that's how, that's what you need in order to develop kids. And we've talked previously about the fact that you need to have competent veterans around your kids. And there's not really, this team has been kind of lacking those up until this point.
But I mean, Red Bull doesn't have a ton of those. They have Emil Forsberg and Tim Parker.
I mean, those guys have a lot of gravity. Like those two players,
yeah.
and they have a gravity in a way that frankly, like Joveljic and Manu don't quite have
fair.
that.
I don't think. Yeah, that's fair. I think Forsberg's probably much more of a locker room leader, and especially one that's like telling guys what to do a little bit more than maybe Joveljic or Manu. And that's not a negative on Joveljic and Manu. It's just not their personality.
Right. This is not who they are. Right. But we've pointed out that that's a hole in the squad, like, and that's one of the things that Bassong coming back has hopefully helped address is that sort of on-field vocal leadership.
Yeah, I think the second part of Wiki saying he wasn't sure that this type of turnaround was coming shows that he's not really sure how to necessarily fix the problems that are at play, which is another more concerning thing. Like when they play this well, he's kind of like, where did that come from? Just like we are.
Right.
I mean,
part of me,
I don't know. That's not a ringing endorsement. You know what I mean?
It's not. But like, and I texted you this, and you were a little skeptical. But I kind of feel bad for him to some degree because like he can't have imagined that his roster was going to be this bad, right? He knew coming in that this was a construction problem that he was going to be building and developing. But like, wow, I mean, this roster is really, really terrible, and he has been done zero favors by Lee, zero favors.
Just like he had zero favors done to him by Georg Heitz in Chicago.
This is true.
And we convinced ourselves of the fact that it was a Georg Heitz problem and not a Rafa Wiki problem.
Yeah.
And then he, gets fired from Young Boys and doesn't have a job for 18 months. And we convinced ourselves that wasn't the issue either.
Right.
And that he was going to be, you know what I mean? Like and I've said this a couple times this week, like, especially as we get into the roster conversation here in a minute, I feel sort of complicit in carrying water for some of these situations over the last 6 months because I know so much of the context and I'm so aware of the context and I don't want to jump to conclusions about people who are not related to the last 15 years of what's been going on at this club.
Yeah.
So we only have just what's happened over this short period of time, this small sample size of stuff to evaluate, and you want to see a larger sample size before you come to conclusions. But I mean, the sample size is getting large enough now to where you can realistically say like, yes, Wiki does not have a full set of tools to work with. I 100% agree, and we are going to go deep into that one here in a minute. But I also think, two things can be true. He can also not be good.
Yeah, but he did have his fullest set of tools. His toolbox was more full last night than it has been in
Yes.
any game, and the team played well. And so,
do you think that's a result of him, or do you think that's a result of the players?
I think that's a result of the players. Like I really think that literally Zorhan Bassong starting last night. I think that made such a huge difference, and I think that the team the team was able to exercise a level of control over the game that they have not even come close to so far. And I think that when Zorhan Bassong went off, they lost almost all of that control, and it became a sloppy track meet after that point. And so, like, to me, it was clear as day that the demarcation between with Zoe, without Zoe.
I think it started after the second half started, because Stephen Afrifa came in that game as well, and we'll get into that conversation.
I'm Team Drew on this one.
I hope so.
I don't know what other people are seeing, but holy shit! Wow.
We'll get to that. We'll get to the Afrifa argument here in a minute.
So many times last night, I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Yeah. Just specifically to that player himself. Yeah. I was like, what? Oh my God.
Anyway, I think maybe let's go here for, because I was going to say kind of what happened versus LA, but I think the most important thing that happened is Zorhan Bassong was in the game.
That's my take on it. I mean, it might be an oversimplification, but it seems pretty apparent.
In deference to the man himself, Charles Gooch, we are going to talk about the soccer as dominoes that is Zorhan Bassong, because I think there was a significant sort of amount of dominoes that sort of went downhill as soon as Zorhan Bassong was on the field. I think that, as we highlighted earlier, his energy and just his way of play is infectious. Yeah. It naturally got more people engaged. He's just the psychology is important when you're dealing with a team that's struggling this much. You have to find a way to get people dialed in. Let me tell you something. When your teammates flying around, getting turnovers, turning the ball back upfield, you start to get more engaged. You're like, man, good shit might happen here. Yep. I'm actually sort of playing soccer again. Yep. Wow, this is fucking fun. Let's go, right? There is that impact that comes with him. The whole concept of Raj hyping him up before the game and then him having sort of a quintessential Raj game is just like, you love that is the thing that this club has been missing since Raj retired, if we're being honest with ourselves, right? And so you see the engine, you see the movement, but it's really like, it's his instincts. His instincts are pretty good. He sees things happening. He's not reacting to things happening, which is very much a Jacob Bartlett problem. He is anticipating them. He's jumping into passing lanes. And then when he gets that ball, there's no hesitation.
Right.
We are one touch passing it forward. We are dribbling it forward. But the first touch is fucking forward.
Yep.
Every time.
And the thing is, and this is the big difference, I think, between him and someone like Jake Davis, is that he is dependable and consistent. And it's not that he doesn't make any mistakes, but he limits his mistakes into mistakes that he can control. And he doesn't take unnecessary mistakes. And he is, you know where he's going to be. You know he's going to play those progressive passes. You know he's going to be there to help sniff out problems and diagnose them and deal with them. Like he just brought that level of calm to the midfield that I think we were expecting LBJ to bring, and he hasn't really done that so far. And so I think that was that was such a solid base, and then to layer on the progressive passing on top of that was just. It was perfect. It was great.
But that was the next domino that fell down.
Yeah.
Zoe was so effective. LBJ's like, oh, I have a midfield partner.
Yep.
I can do my shit now.
Yep. And he did.
Hit the best game he had since the last time he played the Galaxy, which is his first game in the shirt, right? He was very effective in this game. We saw him hit this dime that he's going to get a hockey assist. I think he's going to an MLS assist for this dime that he hits on the first goal. Like, he is, you started to see the LBJ that was promised.
Yeah.
Right? And it was because he wasn't having to cover for a midfield partner that just wasn't up to the game.
Right. Well, and we've talked about it a lot, and we've addressed it specifically with center backs, but that element of that rapport, right? That your partnerships, the way that two players who play next to each other, play off of one another and help cover for one another is so important, and that is really underlined in a midfield double pivot like that. And so I think that alone is reason for a lot of optimism. The fact that those two players in their first game playing together really played so well together, I think is a super encouraging sign.
It was so Bassong has that he has that eternal pessimism instinct where when things go the wrong direction, I got to get on my horse and fucking snuff this out. Yep. And he did that several times. He covered for Jaden Reed several times on the wide side.
Yes, he did.
He would drop into the center when LBJ was upfield. There were a number of circumstances where he just knew, hey, this space is open. It shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. I better fucking cover it. And I know it seems really simple, but man,
it's really hard. And
it's actually not that easy to do it at the level that he did and be in the right place every time.
That's why everybody's so gaga about Mehmeti, like because he has that at 17, that the vision and the ability to cover those spaces, and like it is a very difficult skill. A very difficult skill, and I think it's a big reason why like single pivot number sixes are so hard to find, is because like to be able to do that plus the defensive side, plus the progressive passing side, like to do all of those things together, you have to be an elite player, right? I mean, that's why Rodri won the Ballon d'Or. Like it's a very, very rare combination of skills that you have to do that.
Why Miami is struggling in the midfield right now, because they don't have fucking Sergio Busquets there anymore.
No.
I
think they ain't got shit in that midfield right now, honestly.
But Rodrigo De Paul, his G+ is so great.
He's part of the
Ethan Bartlow
the Ethan Bartlow All Stars.
Yeah. I think that you're making a good point, but also I think you just saw LBJ was able to sort of settle into his position a little bit and just play soccer, as opposed to really having to spend a lot of time thinking about where his teammates were.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And I think that again, this is sort of the dominoes that kind of come down. When you have a guy in central midfield who you can trust, and then the other guy in central midfield who is talented is able to do his thing, now all of a sudden things really calm down. And you're able to actually get on the ball and move forward. And then what happens is a guy like Calvin Harris, who can get on the end of progressive passes and really do damage, does fucking damage.
Yeah. Yeah, his willingness and desire to go right to goal and get the ball in the box was that was special last night.
But I don't think that he's had the opportunities to do that very often because the service has not been there.
Well, and because it's just been him so much, he's been double covered, right? It's been easy for them to keep a fullback on him and then swing a center back over or a defensive midfield over to help cover him. Yeah. But having him and Kapita on the field at the same time, that's a handful, man. That is two really fast, really physical players who are skilled, who can get in behind and cause problems.
For sure. And also it helps when your new central midfielder drops a fucking 40-yard dime right in your lap in between the center backs, and you just I don't know what Jakob Glesnes is doing on that play, man. He just decided to tap out.
I think he thought that
or cover Harris. Yeah,
I think he thought that he was going to cover the far post and he was going to let his goalkeeper, take ball. But that was the wrong choice, right? He should have taken ball and.
I mean, in the end, he just looks like a guy watching a great goal being scored.
Exactly, it was a great goal too. It was wonderful. So thank you for that.
It was Decky being himself, and just, as soon as I saw that Decky was 1v1 with the goalkeeper, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
You know this guy. Like, he's not a stranger to you.
This is a goal 100 times out of 100. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And and that's what happened. It was a goal. Thank you, Jakob Glesnes, for deciding to, cover space when your opponent's number 9 is 1v1 with your goalkeeper. Anyway, but that was a dime from Bassong, who should get a hockey assist on that one, to be completely honest. And there was actually another play earlier where Harris got a shot that was just wide of the post. There was another scenario where Bassong counter presses, wins the ball back, immediately sends Harris through, and gets a shot. It was just like all of the things about winning the ball in advantageous areas and then immediately going towards goal.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they just started happening last night. I don't know. I mean, I like I said, it's the soccer dominoes of Zorhan Bassong being on the field for sure. I think there are some more things related to this that we could discuss as well, related to the formation and Taylor Calhera really playing as a second striker and sort of pushing the center backs back and allowing that space underneath.
Yep.
I think that's another component of why this worked as well as it did.
Yep.
Because the double pivot is then
probably why it won't work as well with Manu, playing in that position.
Right. Maybe, so let's touch on that, right? Like Manu, when he plays as the second pressing forward, when they're out of possession, when they're in possession, he tends to drop back quite a bit, and so the Decky tends to be bracketed. So what do you think of that dynamic? Should it be, now granted, when you bring Manu on in the last half hour, it's perfectly fine, as we saw, right? Because he's got so much energy, he's able to do all the things, and it's not kind of that big of a deal. And he's going against a tired team on the road on a midweek game who is already down 2-0.
Yep.
When he's starting a game, do you think it makes more sense for him to maybe being one of those midfielders? Do you think, because I really do think that there's some benefit to the fact that Calhera was helping Decky occupy 2 center backs. He really was. Calhera was very active in this game. I know you're not going to see much on the score sheet related to Calhera, but his activity was significant, and he caused problems for Garces and Glesnes. Like, they seemed disorganized a lot more than I remember center backs being disorganized against this team. Yep. And those are good center backs, right? So I don't know. Well, I mean,
I think they're super overrated personally, but yeah.
Well,
they're better
Amir
than
Amir Garces is fast. He's a human eraser, but you're right. He's not necessarily technically gifted. Glesnes, I think, is a pretty decent center back, but
yeah. They're better than Sporting Kansas City's center backs. Just I was going to say,
so both of those guys are better than anyone we have on the roster.
That's true. I think the problem, like, first of all, it's really nice to be able to talk tactics and not just focus on that the roster is so terrible. So that part of this conversation is heartening. Who knows about Manu? This is why Manu is playing in MLS. This is why Manu is playing for Sporting Kansas City in MLS. It's because he's a difficult player to sort of fit into, a shape, right? That's why we've kind of been operating under the assumption that he would function best as sort of a left-sided free 8, where he can do some 8 things, he can do some 10 things, and maybe he can even do some 6 things. But it's when you see
I don't think we have the back line to run a single pivot 6 in front of, though. So it's
we don't have the back line. I'm not convinced that we have the single pivot 6 either.
No.
And so yeah, it starts to get real sticky. And I'm not sure what the answer is to it, other than going with a 3 center back system, which seems like it's something that's just not going to happen. And so I think that we have to really be thinking about it in a different respect. And
if you go to a 3 center back system, you're effectively pulling a midfielder off the field to do that. I don't want to pull Bassong or LBJ off the field so that we can run 3 center backs. That's stupid. Right. And so as I'm hearing you play this out in your mind, where I'm really frustrated and infuriated as we're going to get down to the roster build of this is that probably your most talented soccer player you don't have a fucking place for because you built a shitty fucking roster.
Yeah, and that's, the thing is they came in, Lee came in and he recognized that the team needed center backs and he went out and he got a bunch of center backs and it seems
at the league minimum.
It seems to this point that they are all fucking terrible. And
they're all being paid the league minimum.
Right. And that has to change. So it doesn't matter if you have 5 center backs if they're all terrible.
I guess Borges is making more than the league minimum, but all the rest of them are making
the
league minimum.
We don't have any evidence to this point that Borges is not terrible.
Right. I mean, he's been injured half the time, and he's 21 and has no experience. Right. I don't think any of us had any expectations of him being some world beater coming in.
Correct.
He's a U22 player with limited professional experience. It was more like, could he augment a decent back line? There's no decent back line for him to augment.
Right.
He's the highest paid center back on the team.
Right.
He's 21 and he has not even a season's worth of starts.
Right. So we know that there's one center back being added, and we assume that that's a starting quality center back.
That man has way more than a season's worth of starts. This is a legitimate player that we know has been a good center back, one of the best center backs in the Israeli league for several years. So yeah, the expectation is that, but we delved into Drew getting mad about the roster. Let's stop. Okay. Let's not get there yet because man. All right. We need to finish kind of on the tactical side of things because I do think it's interesting. I don't think Taylor Calhera had an especially noteworthy game as far as like his contributions on the ball, but I think his activity was good, and I think Wiki sort of saliently described the fact that when he had come into the games late, even in bad games, he had gotten shots on goal. He had been active. He had been a positive player, so he had earned the right to start. What that also means to me is Wiki sort of tripped over this 4-4-2 by the basis of trying shit. So again, we get into this like, is Wiki a good coach? I'm not really sure, but at least he found something that was useful and functional. But if it does it at the expense of probably the most talented soccer player you have,
that's a problem.
It doesn't seem great.
I don't have a solution to that problem. I mean, that's the thing here, right? Is that it took him sitting Manu to come up with that, but I can see why he hasn't done that so far. Why would you sit your best player? And so I do think that there's a possibility of drifting this towards either a 4-3-3 or even towards playing, Manu and Bassong in a double pivot. I think that possibility exists, and we're closer now to seeing that possibility borne out than we were yesterday at this time. So
I guess they could go kind of 3-5-2-ish and then sort of swap between Calhera or Harris up top. There could be something like that, right?
Yeah.
I think Capita as a right wing back, if you use like James as the right center back, might be okay. You know what I mean? I think there are structurally some things that they might be able to do that, but again, it requires being really thoughtful. And sort of tactically nuanced about it, and I don't know that I believe that that's what we're going to see happen. I think we're going to see sort of a very similar philosophy, which, don't get me wrong, I was glad to see how the team played. Daniel Sperry put it in his lead for the article after the game, which was like the kickoff was one touch and then out of bounds right in the corner, and then they pressed the fuck out of it. It was the PSG kickoff, right?
Yep. Watching their press yesterday, I think that's something that they've been working a lot on, obviously, because their press last night was way better than it has been.
Much better. And again, this is another soccer as dominoes thing. When you have Zorhan Bassong on the field, your press doesn't fall apart as quickly.
And Calhera. Calhera is a better presser than Manu. Manu tries, like he doesn't slack, but Kyle Harris better.
Well, I think part of it is that Decky sort of presses off of Manu. He like sort of waits for Manu to tell him when to go.
Yeah.
And so Manu trigger presses a lot. He doesn't high press a lot.
Yeah.
And so Decky is a lot of times just waiting for Manu to tell him what to do next.
Yep.
And Calhera, he just goes, dude.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, I'll just press the fuck out of these guys. I don't care. And I think that there is some value to that, right? The energy and the capability of doing that. And I think Manu coming on for half an hour at the end of the game, he was able to do the same thing. And I mean, can we just talk about the assist he gets in this one?
It was really good.
But Jake Davis can do that, right? He can totally do that, right?
I mean, I wish.
If Jake Davis could do that, we wouldn't be bitching about him being a petulant child.
We would not. We would not. No.
But he 100% cannot do that.
That was an absolutely special play from Manu. And that is not a play. There are not very many players in MLS who make that play. That's just,
I mean, that's what DPs do, dude. That's what DPs do, period.
It is. But DPs aren't usually playing that deep. They're not generally receiving the ball that deep in the middle of three players, right? So
I will say this before we trash Afrifa, because we're going to. Afrifa makes a really good counter-pressing play here that starts this movement. The one good counter-pressing play that I saw him make in this game, he does make that creates this movement that gets Manu on the ball.
All right. I'll take your word for it.
He did. I gotta be fair. We are fair. We're firm but fair, right? Anyway, he did make a decent counter-pressing event to create the turnover that started that whole sequence. So, but yeah, you're right. I'm trying to think of who does this.
Dude, nobody does that.
I was reminded, we're going to talk about Audrey Mehmeti in a minute, but I was reminded of the very first clip in Joe Lowry's interview with him, where Mehmeti gets in traffic and Rodrigo DePaul tries to trigger press him. And then Mehmeti sort of like turns, sees him, pulls the ball back. And I swear to you, DePaul just stands there like this with his arms out and just stares as Mehmeti's 5 yards away going the other direction. It was unbelievable, but it was that kind of thing. That was what Manu did. I mean, he just eliminated three guys by himself.
I texted you over the weekend during the Miami game that if Manu played for Miami, all hell would break loose. Because Manu is way better at the stuff that everybody thinks that DePaul is than DePaul is.
Right. Messi would have like 50 goals.
Yep.
Playing with Manu Garcia.
Yep.
I have no doubt of that whatsoever.
I mean, at this point, like Manu Garcia is like one of the most underrated in the players in the league to me. And
he solves a very specific problem that Miami has, which is moving the ball through the middle third. So
he is very good at that.
He is exceptional at getting it through the middle third and then finding the guy that's good with the ball after that. I mean, the whole sort of, is it even a Trivela? It almost went off his shin that he cushioned down to Calvin Harris for that goal.
Yeah.
It was absurd. The touch was absolutely ridiculous. And like the thing he does where he eliminates three guys, goes the other direction, and then sends it through, like, again, Miami would feast with him in their midfield. Would 100% feast. And I think you're right. He is underrated because his skill set is kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I kind of think that pairing him with Bassong would be really interesting. And this is something that I've been thinking about for a long time. And I think I sent, before FOTMob died, I sent you I think I sent you an overlay of their stats radars, and like together they make a perfect circle. Like they complement each other.
That was
really,
before
really
the
well.
season. You sent me that. Yeah,
Yep.
That is actually kind of interesting. I didn't think about that.
I'm not trying to erase LBJ. I'm just saying that, like I said, it's all about rapport. It's all about how players play with one another.
It could be a 4-3-3 where Bassong just stays a little bit deeper, right? Like they kind of do that in San Diego already.
Yeah.
Where Godoy is a little closer to Verskov, and then Ingvartsen is a lot higher up. I think that they could do something like that with this team where all three of them get on the field.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean,
That's what Raj did forever, right? Like
true.
I don't see. The only thing is Bassong is left-footed. So do you move Manu to the right and sort of shift especially when you have the defensive strength of Reed on the left? I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know. I think that Davis would more likely, as a right back, play off Manu more effectively than he would off of Bassong.
Yeah.
And then so I just there are some things, but again, it takes some nuance, it takes some thought, it takes some sort of like, hey, how do I put these guys in different areas that they can really influence the game? Again, I'm not sure Wiki's thinking.
So maybe last night was everything clicking, like, because sometimes that happens. Is you repeat yourself over and over again, and you're trying to drive the point home, and it's just not working, and then all of a sudden it clicks, and then you're off to the races, and so it's not out of the realm of possibility that that's what happened last night, and. It's just like time will tell, right? Like you have to kind of see what happens moving forward, and hope that none of your momentum gets derailed by injuries, and that you can get reinforcements after the World Cup, and then see where you are after that. So I don't know. I mean, unfortunately, it still seems like we're in wait and see mode with a lot of things surrounding this club, and we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah. All right, let's get on to the last couple of things about the game. Obviously, Calvin Harris had an outstanding day, and hat tip to him. Like, he played very well in this game and was very clearly the best player in Sporting Blue or Indigo in this one, and deserved to get a goal at the end. I'm glad he got that goal because he played very well in this one.
Well, and he's one of those players that, like, he brings it every game, right? He is, his effort in his attitude seem to be very consistent. So it's good to see that rewarded, because his output, his production hasn't necessarily been that consistent.
We've been a little hard on him as just not having, being a little bit one way and just sort of like not having the nuance to his game that we would want him to have, but when you're able to get him in space, because that one thing he does is so dangerous that it creates problems, and he created a lot of problems. I don't think his touch was particularly good in this game. I just think it was so chaotic when he was there that no one was able to take it off him. Right?
It's worth readdressing it again. How big of a difference it makes that you're playing, Calhera and Decky up top, and then you have Capita on the other side,
and Harris,
then you have Harris, and so it just that just gives you space, right? Because those are all four players on your front line that have to be accounted for, and so that's naturally going to give one or maybe even all of those players more space to operate.
I don't even have Capita in the rundown, even though he had a fantastic first half.
He was great.
He got a goal.
And that guy's effort every time he's been on the field has been superb. Like, he brings it every game.
And yeah, I think we were a little concerned about like him getting sort of fit into the team over his first couple games, but then we saw it against Seattle. His defensive work was great there. He plays his ass off, man. Yeah. And I hope he didn't hurt himself because there was the concern with, like, it looked like a hamstring-ish kind of situation.
He was already
around the
taped
half-hour
up,
mark, and he was already taped up, and then he was sort of gimpy at halftime, and I get why they didn't push it. Like, why? Why? You got 2 games left until the summer break, and this team is terrible. Like, don't risk him. But also, like, dude, that fucking recovery run he made against Paintsel, like, he was the first man back to cut Paintsel off. Yep. And there's not a whole lot of people that run down Joseph Paintsel, man.
No, almost none. Not our fullbacks definitely couldn't do it.
No, they could not. Jake Davis had a little bit of a struggle bus event thanks to his buddy Steven Afrifa in the second half. But yeah, I think that like I said, didn't even have in the rundown, but Capita was great in this one, and I think you're right that band of 4 all going downhill. It made a huge difference. It really did.
And again, speaking Dominoes, you're allowed to have that. You can have that band of 4 because you have
Zorhan Bassong.
You have Zorhan Bassong. Like, it's that simple. It is.
Like I said, I think that was why I wanted to bring up the whole domino impact of Zoe, because there was just so many things that were unlocked because he was able to bring that level of control to the midfield.
Yep, totally agree.
Our favorite debate on the internet
returned. Our
I don't know. It's the only one that anyone gets excited about when it comes to this team right now, which, I mean, in fairness, there's not a whole lot. So, like, I enjoy this kind of stuff when it happens because, it shows that people are passionate about the team. Sure. Whether I think they're wrong or not is sort of irrelevant. It shows that there's passion about it. It shows that they're passionate, and the people are dialed into this club. Like we said last week, I think this club has some of the sickest freaking fans in the league. Like they really are in the game and really aware of the game.
You gotta be sick to still be like, taking a close look at this team, honestly.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
There's something wrong with all of us.
We do it on a podcast on a weekly basis, which should tell you everything you need to know about our sickness. I think that so the debate we're talking about is the Steven Afrifa versus Shapi Suleimanov debate, and I don't think it's really a debate because what's funny, and I mentioned this in the Discord. This is your weekly reminder: go to the Discord, participate in the conversation. Links in the show notes. I said in the Discord, the funniest thing about this argument is both sides recognize that both players suck, and they prefer neither was on the roster. That said, they are entrenched in their points of view. The Afrifa fans and the Afrifa stands are strong.
Yeah.
I don't understand it personally. But man, they are firm in their point of view. There are a few of them on the Discord. There's a few of them on the internet. I mean, there's an Afrifa enjoyer Twitter account, like of all things. So trust me, like Steven Afrifa's got his fans. My opinion on the whole Afrifa debate is that it's a whole lot of backup quarterback situation. Like I don't think it's actually based in anything reality, but I found it fascinating on the basis of this performance last night in the second half that they were like, man, I want to see more of that than Shapi. And I was like, that? That's what you wanted to see more of? So please, Cody, help me. What are we looking at in Steven Afrifa's performance last night that was an improvement over Shapi Suleimanov?
So Afrifa faces the goal, and he goes towards the goal.
And doesn't piss down his leg. Yeah.
Right. And so there's not a lot of backwards passing. There's not a lot of passing at all. There's not a lot of backwards passing.
There's a lot of dribbling into the opponent's shins.
There is, and just as a global soccer fan, we're kind of in a dribbly boy moment still. And
this guy ain't Bukayo Saka though. I mean,
no, he's not. And I think where I fall on the debate, and I think it's probably similar to where you fall, is that maybe it's the from being a Burmese fan for so many years, but I'll take a solid defensive winger over whatever it is that Afrifa is, because he was not very engaged defensively last night, and to see.
Dude, he was on the field 15 minutes and couldn't run.
The thing about him, here's the thing, right? Like he's been on the outside looking in for 3 seasons, and you would think that last night would be like really a casting call for him, like it's his moment to like stand up for the new coach and really come in and work his ass off. And this
he was the first guy off the bench when Kapita was injured. He's like, Steven, we need you.
He is not a get in there and work your ass off kind of player. He's just not. Like he is capable. Maybe of some final third magic, but even that takes a level of effort and engagement that he doesn't bring consistently, which is why he's a bench player.
I tagged it I think it was 14 minutes into the half. So the Galaxy, they made some changes at halftime, moving Paintsel to the left side, moving Royce as sort of a false 9. Which, I don't think Paintsel should have ever been playing center forward in this game. I think that took away what his most dangerous aspects are. Absolutely. But regardless, Vanny makes the change. And so the game starts getting up and down pretty quickly. Like, it starts going up and down the field a fair bit. Afrifa comes in at halftime. You expect him to be the freshest guy on the field. It's 14 minutes in. A turnover happens at that end. They slip it up to Afrifa. He's at about half field. There's 30 yards of grass in front of him, and a defense sort of scrambling back, and he has runners to either side of him. Yeah. The guy can barely get out of a trot dribbling the ball, into that space, doesn't seem to know what the hell he's doing. Finally sort of dribbles it off a guy, turns it over, and then puts his hands on his hips and like sticks his head down. I'm like, bro, it's 14 fucking minutes, dude. Is it because you never play that like you only get a 5-minute cameo that you're not fit enough to play 15 minutes? Like, come on. Like, look, I don't want to be like the old, like we are maybe getting a little Vermees-ish on this one, but I'm telling you, man, if Vermees, I texted this to Nolan. I was like, if Vermees saw the effort Afrifa put in this game, he would have been subbed out before the 70th minute and we'd never have heard of him again. It was that bad. It was that bad, dude.
Yeah. He just last night specifically displayed like a complete lack of urgency, like no sense of urgency for anything, whether it was attacking or passing or just holding up the ball. Like,
hey, whatever.
Yeah, it was just, dude, it's like, dude, no, you're defending a lead, man. Hold the ball up. Like, you can't just, like, lose the ball after you get half a touch.
He was the anti-Bassong, dude.
He was.
Anti-Bassong
He was.
Is what he was in this game.
He was.
And as a winger, I mean, at some level, okay, sometimes you're going to get that. Like, as far as, like, they're not going to be as active.
Sure, do that in your attacking third. Don't do that. Don't do that in your side of the field.
The number of times I saw him be last to a ball in his own defensive third where so he makes the run for the ball. His teammates think he's winning that ball, so they're setting themselves up for the next play, and he's fucking a step late every time.
Yep. Yeah. We're on the same page, and so even though Shoppy has a lot of really aggravating
and we've discussed all of them on this podcast many times.
Shoppy defends. He's not afraid to work, and he's not afraid to defend and stick his nose in there, and so like. If I have to choose between the two of them, I'm regrettably choosing Shoppy. But really, we can all agree that it's going to be best for everybody if both of these players are buried on the bench or go find another place to be happy and get paid. Because really, and I honestly like there's so many players on this squad that I feel that way about, right? Ian James is Ian James. He's 17. He can I'm fine with him playing.
He's playing pretty simple right now, but I think he's being told to play pretty simple.
He should, right?
And he's also the only center back we have that can cover ground in transition.
Absolutely.
So,
but
and he had to several times last night.
Wyatt Meyer had a decent game last night, but is he like an answer? Like, no, I'm not like the sooner we can upgrade on that guy, the better, right? And I feel that way about basically all of the center backs at this point. Why wouldn't you? I feel that way about the goalkeeper at this point. I feel that way about every single fullback that's on the squad. I feel that way about. And this sort of gets back to, the wiki conversation. It's obvious that in sort of Wiki's ideal game model that attacking fullbacks play a prominent role. Like, these guys are not it, man. Like, they're not. And
if
so,
all of your attacking fullbacks make the league minimum.
Right. And same thing with, it's a center back argument, right? It's
what the fuck?
Yeah,
this just goes back. You were talking about this last week about how he's trying to run a system for a completely built roster, and he has this, and as we're about to discuss, this is not much.
It is not.
And I think that's the biggest thing. Anyway, we're sort of tongue in cheek about the Afrafi. Let's call them Afrapi. The joke on the Discord was it's Shapistan versus Afrifa land.
I love that. That's good. That's quality.
They're in battle against each other. I would be extremely happy if neither of them saw the field.
Yep. But that's not going to be the case, right?
No, for this year.
For quite some time. And so get used to it, right?
Yeah.
Get used to it. We can hope that there are signings over the summer that push those two to the bench and make them compete for minutes there. But even that's not a guarantee, as we've seen with Lee. And so, I don't know. Just keep on keeping on. Stake your flag in one stand or one land and let it fly on the Discord. It's fine.
I think a lot of the stuff against Shoppy is related to his salary, to be completely honest, which is fair.
Absolutely.
I understand that, but that doesn't mean that he's actually the worst player to be on the field. It just means that he's more overpaid than Afrifa. That's all.
Yeah. He is also just objectively hilarious.
Yeah, he is.
So that makes me like him a little bit more, just because he rates very high on the unintentional comedy scale.
That is a fact. Speaking of salaries, MLSPA dropped the biannual or semi-annual twice a year, right? Biannual is every 2 years.
Correct.
Semi-annual salary release. So all of us got to see how much money all of these players are making, and woo boy, not many of them are making any money in Kansas City, unless they're Manu Garcia or Dejan Joveljic. I guess LBJ is over $1 million as well. I think I said this in several forums, including the Discord, which is, again, your reminder to join the Discord, participate in the discussion. Your boy had a slight breakdown over all of this yesterday. I think the problem that I ran into, or that I had largely sort of reckoned with the putridity of this team, its roster, its makeup. I had sort of come to understand it when they get trounced 6-0 against Portland and everybody's freaking out, man. Oh my God, this is so terrible. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I didn't expect much anyway. It's just fuck. Yeah. Okay. It's another shitty game. I kind of, after the Colorado Springs game, I kind of got all that shit out of my system. Right. And I just had very limited expectations every game about what they might
there's
do.
nowhere to go but up after that shit.
Yeah. I mean, well, are you sure about that? You sure about that?
I am sure that losing 6-0 to a professional MLS club, even if it's coached by who it's coached by, is better than losing to the Switchbacks.
They played worse against the Switchbacks. To be honest, it was terrible. That was rock bottom for me. And I sort of bottomed out at that point. And I had sort of let the rest of it sort of roll off me. Even after every national pundit that covers this league, even tangentially, had something to say about how terrible Sporting was, I sort of let it roll off. I just wasn't that concerned about it. And for some reason, as I'm updating my roster nerd spreadsheet with all of these salaries, and I'm looking at all of them, and I'm realizing that all of these players that we signed as trialists that I thought were maybe a little bit more, in demand than they were making less money than I had expected them to be making. And then recognize that of the 24 rostered players, and that includes Chelo Tesantrit, 13 of them were making some kind of the league minimum, were eligible for the supplemental roster. Yeah.
You expect that shit from Montreal, right? You don't expect that from Sporting.
Even Philadelphia, say what you want about their spending, which is actually lower than Sporting's at an aggregate. They have a lot more players making over $500,000 than Sporting does, and I'm just man. I knew it was bad. But I don't think I recognized the level of bad until I saw it in black and white, and man, it really pissed me off.
Yeah.
Because the whole point, and again, this gets back to the conversation we were having earlier about me feeling like I was carrying water for the things that the club was doing by sort of adding context and saying, hey, look, there's no staff, there's no this, there's no that. It's really difficult to try to work all this out. You've got a sporting director in Mike Burns who you may or may not agree with, and you may be struggling to kind of come to agreements on who you're trying to sign and what the process should be for signing them, blah, 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 blah. David Lee has been in this role for 8 fucking months. Who has he hired? He's hired a coach, some assistant coaches, and a couple performance analysts. Yeah. That's it. In 8 fucking months. Who has he signed? Some trialists, 2 TAM players, and a U22.
Yep.
I guess Calvin Harris as well. Sorry, Calvin. I don't mean to... you team of the week, you don't deserve to be put off to the side like that. What the fuck, man? You hire this guy away from New York City FC after 6 years of being one of the best CSOs in the league, supposedly, and then this is what we get in 8 months of work.
Yeah.
Greg Berhalter and Bruce Arena were hired before the 2025 season with less time to work on their team than David Lee had, and Berhalter built up a whole fucking front office before Lee hired 2 people.
Yeah.
I'm not excited about where we are.
Yeah.
This roster build, we knew it was bad. It's a fucking like the reason why you're so ready for all these guys to go is because they're all fucking going. These are placeholders players.
Yeah.
They're placeholder players. They're not people who are going to be around after this season. Which, in my opinion, is also a slight on Lee and how he has done this. Because if you were going to get placeholder players for a year because you didn't get the signings over the line you wanted, why didn't you sign some fucking veteran free agents from MLS that could actually make this team not be so shit?
Right. Right.
Like, why are we signing these trialists for league minimum numbers?
Right.
You got to spend some of this GAM anyway.
That's the thing. That's the thing that really bugs me is that, when you take what you just addressed and then you couple that with the lack of international roster slots and the, just overflowing coffers of GAM, like the solution is right in front of you. Go sign a shit ton of domestic players, veterans and young players, and fill out your roster that way. But that's not what happened at all.
And they signed domestic players. They're just a bunch of off the trash heap players.
They signed trialists and they didn't go buy players. That's the whole point of having GAM is you go buy fucking players. Go buy players that are good.
And not all from when you hear the complaints about what happened, we didn't get signings over the line. They're all international.
Yeah.
Bro, you only have 8 international spots and you had 20 fucking roster positions to fill. You can't do it all internationally. You have to work within the league. You have to buy domestic players. And it can't be Taylor Calhera plus a bunch of trialists.
Right.
It has to be or trading $50K in GAM for the 3rd string right back for the Chicago Fire who doesn't play for them. That can't be your goal. You have to sign other guys with green cards or with US passports, man. That is what we do in this league.
That's what GAM is for. That's one of the great uses of GAM is you can invest that in domestic players. Or
use this money that you supposedly have from ownership and go cash for some fucking guys.
Yeah. Amen to that. That's
Joe Lowry talked about Dado Valenzuela for the FC Cincinnati. Go get a caster. Put him on a U22 deal. That would be nice. A nice, solid youth domestic central midfielder. Could we use that? No, probably don't need that. I'm just sorry. I mean, I told you I would still have energy for this conversation tonight. I'm upset. I think this is fucking malpractice, dude. This is sitting on your hands.
Yeah. It's definitely it reeks of someone not being up to the task.
I don't want to think it's that. I want to think it's just overly sort of
paralysis by analysis.
I don't even know if it's paralysis by analysis, but certainly being sort of a prisoner of their philosophy, right? And their style. I mean, we went from this sort of wait till next window under Peter Vermees to who knows? I didn't think things could become more opaque and less urgently moving forward than Vermees.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened.
Yeah, there does not seem to be any urgency at all.
I think, someone said it on the Discord what was going on. It's is the urgency in the room with us? No, it is not.
It is not.
It's just wild to me. And I don't I want to be clear. I don't think David Lee is a dumb person. I don't think he misunderstands the gravity of the situation that he is in right now.
Right.
But I also don't know that his personality is such to make significant changes as he sees the need to make them. He's a much more of a trust the process kind of guy, trust the structure, trust the process. The problem is he doesn't have the structure. And he came from a place where the structure was built for him.
Was imposed upon him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here he's required to build it himself. And if I could see some signs of the fact that he was doing that, I might be less frustrated at this point. But I don't see that.
Well, at minimum, he doesn't seem to know how to prioritize and delegate appropriately, and those are pretty important skills to have.
Who the fuck's he delegating to? He hasn't hired anybody.
That's the problem, right? Like so you prioritize hiring people that you can delegate to. Like the steps have to be taken in that order, and they haven't happened. I
mean, I'm glad that we're gonna get Orblorian in the summer, and he'll probably be here pretty early. Because Israel's not in the World Cup, so I think it'll be good for him to train with the team and be ready come July, which is great. But there's a lot more work to be done, and there's a pile of gam. And I'm telling you, I think if we don't see significant change this summer, things are going to get tight for him. I don't think the level of patience with our new majority owner is the same as it was with previous managing ownership. Let me put it that way. And Lee's going to have to show progress, in my opinion. I don't know. Sorry, I went on a rant. You just sort of let me have it. I appreciate that.
I mean, it's been building for a while, so
It has. I think you've been much more willing to sort of highlight the fact that he hasn't done shit, and I've been much more willing to sort of give him some time. And I think maybe that's the problem, is that you were already at this place, and I was like, hoping something good would happen, and then I saw the salary release, and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, it's even worse than I thought.
I mean, it's just everything seems to be kicking the can down the road, right? That seems to have been, since the modus operandi from day one, and it's at some point it's either you're going to get your shit together, or it's going to catch up to you, and Maluk's going to say, I've had enough of this shit, and that's going to be that. And so, it just the longer you put off making moves, the more important the moves that you do make become, and so you're not doing yourself any favors, right? And it looks like this summer there has to be some movement this summer, or people are going to be pissed, and they're going to keep getting slammed in the national media. They're going to keep getting slammed in local media, and it's just like come on, like, let's go.
I want to see some sense of pride in trying to fix this problem.
Yeah, you can't just slow play the whole thing. Like, that's not helpful. Like, we're not saying rush in and spend millions of dollars and throw good money after bad. Like, we're not saying be Atlanta. We're saying like make some smart things happen, right? Like,
Diego Fagundes signed in the middle of March for $300,000.
Yep.
I'm not telling you to go pay some guy $1 million for the year just so you can get a body on the bench. I'm saying this team could really fucking use a guy like Diego Fagundes right now. Like an MLS veteran with, 12, 13. Diego Fagundes is still somehow only 31 and has played in MLS for 20 years. But still, get someone like that, right? I don't... This is not difficult. This is not difficult. Plan A doesn't work out. You see Plan A is not working out. Pivot slightly. I'm not saying sign 6 guys. I'm saying sign some guys. Especially when you send Daniel Shalhoub to Toronto, where he's doing great, by the way, on a team that's a little bit of a mess, but less of a mess than this one. But you've shipped that experience and veteran leadership out of the locker room. You need to bring something else in to offset it.
Right. If you want to shift the culture, fine, but you can't just ditch the culture. You have to replace it with something.
Right.
Otherwise, it's a vacuum, and that's not good.
I think this is part of the problem with. I don't want to sound like this guy. This is part of the problem with only an analytics mindset towards evaluating players and performance, is that there is a psychological aspect to team performance.
Yeah.
And you need to be aware of what those components are. And when you took Shalhoub out of the locker room, you took more than just a guy in the last year of his deal that wasn't going to re-sign.
Right. Yep.
All right. let's move on to potpourri. Just like your favorite Jeopardy category, we've got a few topics in around the Sporting Kansas City MLS soccer sphere. What did you like over MLS? The last 2 match days of MLS, my friend. What did you see that you liked?
I mean, there was a lot. Like, the Goal Fest in between Miami and Cincinnati last night. That was pretty special.
If you didn't go to Sporting Park last night, there was a lot of fun soccer to watch in MLS. I don't know if it's necessarily good defensively, but it was entertaining.
It was. So I enjoyed that. You gotta love the dude who I think he plays for the young Samuel Sarver. That's my guy.
The dude. When you said the dude who plays for the, and I was like, is this a Samuel Sarver? It was really good. You're talking about the goal celly on Saturday?
Oh, that was great, man.
Yeah.
It was really great.
He ices the game, runs up into the supporter section, which is kind of off to the side right now in Toyota Park because they've got all the renovations happening there kind of while the team is playing. And like not only takes the shirt off, but takes the sports monitor, the bro, as we like to call it, off, and just like up in the stands and with all those supporters. And yeah, it was very much like the epitome of American white guy celebration.
Yeah, like, how can you not fall in love with that? How can you not just love it? It was great.
It was a nice goal too. Like the guy, I mean, he took it and took it like 50 yards off of a long ball and just drove down the field and scored. And he deserved to celebrate the way he did. It was fun stuff. I agree.
How about you?
I'm actually going to go off the board from MLS because I knew that's why I let you go first because I knew that you wouldn't choose what I did. I watched about 60 minutes of Sporting Kansas City 2 versus Colorado Rapids 2. Now, granted, all of that was up a man, which helps for sure. Can we swap these two teams? Like, right. Can the twos play at Sporting Park, and then we'll send the other guys to Swope for the freebies? It was much more entertaining than I now. This is before I'd seen the Galaxy game for sure, but it was an entertaining game. It was really fun. I enjoyed it. The twos are fun. I think I said this last week. The kids are kind of enjoyable. Kashan Hines started at center forward in this one. Is the guy who draws the red card on a dog-so. He's running free and gets a dog-so red card and then scores a goal later in this one. On the dog-so red card, Misael Rodriguez scores on the free kick from just outside the box. It was fun, man. It was a fun game. Zamir Loronaga goes 90 and he's not Adri Mehmeti. He's not the same player because he plays more of an advanced role. But the close touch control that you like from Mehmeti, ZLR's got that. He's 15. He's naive. He does 15-year-old naive things. I'm not going to act like he's the complete article and he needs to start for Sporting Kansas City next week. But what I am saying is he's fun. And for him to be 15 years old, 6 feet tall, and have that kind of control, and he moves like Gio Reyna. That's what I remember. He's like kind of that big frame and sort of glides around and just sort of knows where to be to receive the ball. And will also tell people when he wants it. A little bit like Gio Reyna. But he's fun. He's a good player. You can tell why the coaches are excited about him. His technical skill is above a lot of the other guys. But like I said, I really enjoyed Misael Rodriguez. I really enjoyed Kashan Hines in this one. Tego Ikoba comes on after him and is a little bit more of a standard center forward and a little bit more of a blunt instrument. Was okay. Shane Donovan was very good, but could use some finishing skills for sure. But Gael Quintero was really solid in this game. There were a number of players. Jack Franca was sort of playing. So Lita Sanchez got them playing in kind of a hybrid like a USMNT thing where they kind of switched to a back 3 in possession, but a back 4 in defense. So Franca is playing that elbow back role where he's a fullback / center back. So he's the fullback in the back 4, but he's a center back in the back 3. And so there's a lot of cool, like interesting stuff going on there, which I don't expect to see from the second team.
Right. Well, that's a silver lining then.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not. I spent a lot of time talking about the second team, but it was fun. It was a fun game to watch, and I don't normally enjoy watching those games. I normally go, God damn this. We don't have anything coming up from here. What the hell? You know what I mean? I'm like, just it's a grind. They have not been really that interesting to watch for a couple years. So they are interesting to watch now, and it's mostly academy guys.
That's good. If you're not going to be a good, at least be interesting.
Well, and
but they're both.
They're getting better. They were not good to start the year, but they've sort of stuck with it and stuck with the academy players, and they're getting better. And I think that's a positive to see them continue to improve for sure. In and around MLS, as we've alluded to several times, Joe Lowry did a really fun interview with Audrey Mehmeti for Backheeled. As you guys know, if you listen to this podcast, Cody and I are both big fans of Audrey Mehmeti. He had a fantastic game again against was it Columbus on last night. He is just the kind of fucking soccer nerd that we are. And you're like, so the whole concept of the interview with Joe was like, apparently Mehmeti will come straight home from practice and wait for the video from practice to show up so he can analyze it. He goes home and analyzes film all the time. He watches film of Sergio Busquets and Rodri and like watches what they do and analyzes it. Kid's 17, man. This is not a lot of 17-year-olds are doing this kind of shit.
No, sir.
I mean,
no, sir.
Your son like looking at fucking Marcelo clips?
Hell no. No.
When he was 17, he wasn't, looking at Jordi Alba and Marcelo clips. So like, I think it's just fun. If you're a soccer nerd, go read the article. But also there's a lot of clips in there of him doing his thing, and you get to see why we're as excited about him as we are, and why a lot of people are really excited about him. And then the other big thing around the league, Champions Cup discourse is back. 2 Mexican teams are in the final, even after all of the bullshit related to whether or not certain players are going to be able to play. And we get back to this whole conversation about, MLS needs to fix the spending rules if they're going to compete with Liga MX. I just think they need to learn how to compete in Liga MX,
they sent 2 teams to the semifinals this year. I mean, sometimes shit happens. It's not that big of a deal.
I mean, it is in the fact that Seattle's the only team that's ever won this in the modern version of the tournament.
Sure.
MLS team, I should say.
Yeah.
That's won it in the modern version of the tournament. I think that MLS was competitive, but I also, I don't rate any 2 MLS teams against Tigres and Toluca right now.
Right.
Do you? Do you look at that and go, they're going to win?
No, of course not.
Do you think it's because they because of the salary rules, though?
I think that's part of it. I think there's a lot going on, but I think that's definitely part of the equation.
I think the disparity and how the money is being spent is the issue. MLS teams are too top heavy, and there's still not enough spread. Yeah. Toluca doesn't spend significantly more than an LAFC does on their roster. I don't even think they do actually spend more. But they do have 10 guys they spent $3 million plus transfer fees for.
Yeah,
you can't do that in MLS.
No.
And so I think that is the key difference. But they don't have any guys that are making 11 million like Heung-min Son, right? Like, right. So I think that's the thing. It's like there's a much more balanced approach, and so their 15 best guys are all high TAM players in MLS.
Exactly.
And that's the big difference between it. So
it's a depth thing.
I think from a roster rules perspective, I can agree that the roster rules probably need to be augmented, but I don't think the spending is the problem. I think it's the mechanisms, the Rube Goldberg machine, as you like to say, and how it works.
Totally.
All right. The Current. Get back on the field, and Temwa looked like Temwa again. Doesn't it feel good?
It does feel good.
She didn't really look up to speed in the couple cameos we'd seen from her so far.
Yeah.
That was not a problem.
No, she was just lulling everybody into a false sense of security.
She absolutely fucking wasted Chicago in this one. It was, she gets a hat trick, which she's never done for the Current, which is a surprising fact. So, I also thought it was nice. Ali Sentner, who I find to be a frustrating player, like a lot of games. but also able of doing magician type things that I'm like, okay, well, I see why you're on the field. Could we see more positives more often? There was a lot more positives for her in this game. I think she created like 5 chances in this game, which was nice to see.
So now the goal is to do it against someone who's not Chicago.
Yeah, fair point. Granted, they lost to Chicago last time. Well, in Evanston, but still, not great. Last few things. Xavier Gozo still doing the thing. Paul Tenorio is even now on the bandwagon, trying to get him on the U.S. men's national team. Christian Roldan gets mentioned. ESPN builds their own X-Dog. Have you seen this article?
I have not.
It's unbelievable. ESPN used statistics to try to create X-Dog.
Oh, that's funny.
And they did the best U.S. men's national team player on each line in X-Dog. Christian Roldan was the midfielder.
Of course. That's not surprising.
Well, I mean, Tyler Adams you would think would be up there, but no, it was Roldan.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone will be completely rational about that. And then the other fun thing this week was the Chicago Fire will be playing at McDonald's Park. So you can get yourself a Big Mac at the Fire game in 2028, I think.
Just eat your fries before you go to your seat. Once they're cold, they're trash.
Yeah, that's true. McDonald's fries are only good hot. They are very good hot. As far as fast food French fries go, very good hot French fry. Soggy mess when they're cold. They're not fun. I do think the one positive of this news was that it did create a very important discussion on the Discord about stadium food and what is appropriate in a stadium. Mm-hmm. And as much as we have sort of, applauded the Current for sort of their different offerings in the stadium, a lot of those are really fucking hard to eat.
Yes.
There's a reason fried food on a stick became a thing. One hand, get in there, get after it. Super easy. You're watching a sports game. If you go look at the Footy Scran account, how many of them are just a sandwich or something like that? Like something that's in one hand, you eat it while you're like even a meat pie. You hold on to the pie, you eat it. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely.
They had one recently from Dortmund that was a schnitzel. You know what? It's a schnitzel in a bun.
Perfect.
We got handhelds. We need handhelds, guys.
Gotta happen. Yep.
It gotta happen. All right. One thing to look for. The team heads to Austin this week. What are you hoping to see, my friend?
The Good Sporting.
Oh. So the one from on Wednesday.
The one from on Wednesday.
I was like, we haven't seen it otherwise.
Yep.
So more of the same, right?
More of the same. That's what I'm looking for.
4-4-2, same lineup. Don't even fuck with it. Is that what you think?
No, I mean, like I said last time we podcasted, you don't mess with what's not broken until it's broken. So you roll out what worked, and with the possible exception of including Manu, and then you you see if you can recreate what happened on Wednesday night, and if you can't, then you go back to the drawing board.
You just hope Zorhan Bassong's got legs under him still. That's the main thing.
I mean, you gotta he's he's not good for any longer than 60 minutes. You gotta think of it like that and plan around that.
I'm surprised he was good for 60 minutes on Wednesday.
Totally agree. I
thought he might come out at halftime, to be honest. So I'm glad he did 60. Hopefully we see a half or 60 out of him on Saturday. And we will be back. Actually, not next week because your boy is on a work trip again. So we're gonna do the old double game action again. So even if they are shit this weekend, we don't have to talk about it. Isn't that great?
Wonderful. But we'll be talking on the Discord. It'll be all right.
We'll definitely be talking on the Discord. Right. So again, that's a reminder. Link is in the show notes. Go on the Discord. The discussion will be there. We will be back after the last game before the World Cup break, where we will analyze how this team is doing. I don't think it requires much analysis at this point. And we'll also talk about, preparations for that summer transfer window and things that could happen.
Let's go.
Yeah.
This is the window.
Fill ourselves with optimism of things that certainly will definitely happen. And until then, I'm Drew. He's Cody. We will talk to y'all soon.
Go Sporting.